Cyberpunk 2077 is finally releasing soon, for real this time, I think. So we're gonna talk about more new interesting stuff you should know. Some things Cyberpunk 2077 is doing that is a bit different from your average open world game. Now, we've already done 10 things you need to know before the game releases, and then the game got delayed again, so consider this 5 more significantly interesting things you should know too. Let's get started off with number 5 and talk about vehicles. The fact that you can't just steal any vehicle you want. This isn't a future town Grand Theft Auto, goddammit. This is an RPG for adults. According to CD Projekt Red's senior level designer Miles Tost during a Night City livestream, when you're thrust down onto the open streets of the game, you can't immediately just run up to a car and smash a triangle button to steal it or anything like that. Now that might seem obvious to some RPG fans, of course, but some folks might find it kinda jarring, you know? Apparently, you have to focus on certain specific stats to be able to get to the ability to commandeer vehicles from random NPCs. Just judging from previews and information that's been outlined already, it seems like the game is a little bit more focused around the act of you getting your own car and earning that car more than just carjacking random people. Apparently, you can't keep the cars that you steal, but the game does give you the opportunity to pretty much acquire any car you want through the more official means, so there's that at least. But if you see a cool car on the street, you can't just steal it, drive it back to a garage, and store it. I think this is an interesting approach because I like the idea of making it feel like your car is important. Your car is your thing, just like in The Witcher 3. You didn't see Geralt jumping on a bunch of other horses, right? No, Roach was his horse, and that was the whole thing. Still, ultimately, very curious to see how this goes down, and all of the stuff that we talk about in this video, all the info if you want to read up more on it, all of it is going to be sourced and linked in the description down below. Now over at number 4, another very unique, different thing is that there's a cool stat and street credit you can earn. But don't worry, it's not as like goofy or cringy as it sounds. So the main core attributes, the main stuff you give your character are breakdown as body, intelligence, reflexes, technical, and then cool. So body, intelligence, you know, reflexes, stuff like that is pretty self-explanatory, but what the hell does cool do? According to IGN, they have the cool stat labeled as dealing with willpower and self-control. Apparently, this stat helps with resistances, critical hit damage stuff, and stealth, which honestly just sounds like straightforward RPG stat stuff. I was kind of expecting the cool stat to just be a little different. Maybe it still will affect things in-game a bit differently. But then in terms of just funky, cool cyberpunk things, there's also street cred that I mentioned. Street cred, short for street perks, essentially, is kind of like a side quest experience that you build up. According to a CD Projekt Red interview with PC Games N, there's main regular old good old-fashioned XP. You earn this and level up through doing standard regular main story missions. Then there's street cred. You earn this and level this up through doing side quests and side missions and side experiences. This is apparently where things get more interesting because the higher your street cred ranking, essentially, it works as like an in-game reputation, assumingly giving you access to more stuff, and it seemingly ties in pretty closely because some equipment that you can equip will actually give you a street cred boost. So, from what we've seen so far, it seems like CD Projekt Red is emphasizing that the street cred and the main XP are both very important things and essentially tie into one another and maybe incentivizes players to pursue more side activities more often. Of course, there's a lot more to touch on about character building. We did highlight that in another video. We will link that in the description down below, but we wanted to point out more of the unique stuff like this. Now over at number 3, this one's a bit off topic, but still very cool and worth highlighting for some people. So CD Projekt Red took the time to add some features that really help out streamers and other content creators, whether you're an amateur or a pro, or you're just doing it for fun. I'm sure you've seen all the DMCA stuff that's been hitting Twitch creators pretty hard. CD Projekt Red actually added some features that will make streaming Cyberpunk doable. Cyberpunk 2077 technically has a streamer mode you can activate. They allow you to turn off nudity, and they also allow you to turn off all the licensed music and replace it with original music. It'll essentially disable certain tracks that would cause some issues while you're streaming and get flagged with Twitch's system. You can stream Cyberpunk without worrying about getting hit with a DMCA claim for licensed music or have your stream get taken down because of nudity. Honestly, we kind of see this as becoming a new trend in games. Some games have done it in some ways, but the way Cyberpunk is implementing it seems pretty special and very attentive to the current state of the internet. It's probably going to become more of a trend, especially with how big Twitch has gotten and just how big Let's Plays continue to be on YouTube. For some smaller and truthfully bigger devs, streaming can technically help their game out quite a bit, so you might as well toss in some features to help it out. Because honestly, it even helps us out, really. Down to number 2, something that seems unique about the game, what Cyberpunk is trying to do here. There's no other way to really explain it other than that the garbage and stuff is insanely detailed. Now, we can't technically show this. We don't really have any visual examples to show in the game yet because we don't have the game yet, so bear with us. So according to a Polish interview with Paweł Sasko, the lead quest designer, he said, and I quote, "If you look into trash bins, you will find out that even trash is designed. Instead of just making generic trash, we took boxes and items we made for the environment and modeled trash using them." So that might sound like a throwaway thing, but if you think about what that really means, it's interesting, and it just kind of speaks volume to the level of detail they're going for here. So stuff you'll see out in the world, be it on tables, on shelves, in the environment. The trash in garbage cans in the game is modeled after those same items because, like in the real world, you know, if there's a bunch of cans of Coca-Cola around, there are going to be crunched up cans of Coca-Cola in a garbage can somewhere. Usually in video games, there's no connection. A garbage can and the garbage around it is modeled as just generic plain garbage. Here, it's got lore. In Cyberpunk 2077, the garbage has world building. Can you believe it? Still, it's a small example and it sounds really stupid, but like I said, I think it really does a good job of pointing out what they're going for here in terms of detail that you're probably going to discover on tons of stuff. Not just the garbage, but cars, signs, everyday items that people use in the game, clothing, you name it. I mean, they're working on Cyberpunk lore. You know, they're pulling stuff from the Cyberpunk tabletop game rulebooks, which were filled with tons of details on cool tech and just stuff built up in this Night City world. The potential is high for really, really awesome stuff, and we're really looking forward to it. Now down to number 1, according to recent interviews, you can actually beat Cyberpunk 27, technically, without actually finishing the main quest. That might sound crazy to you or just confusing, but it's also just RPG as hell. A big old game like this is designed for you to just kind of get in it, get lost in it, and just continue to do stuff and choose to do whatever you want, and maybe you don't want to pursue the main quest, or you want to go at it your own way. Well, apparently, according to Paweł Sasko, the game is designed for tons of different options. He said, and I quote, "Those subplots allow us to do something that we have never done before. They change the main plot of the game, and they are doing that in such a way that you may not even finish the main plot, but still finish the game and get a completely different epilogue than the player with a different life path who made different choices, met different characters, and formed relationships with them." That is very cool. That is very interesting, and that is very different. It's also worth pointing out that it seems very much like the life path you choose at the start of the game very much affects a lot of the outcome of the game going forward. Not just an intro area, an introductory area where you choose the nomad path so you end up in the wastes. No, apparently that carries through a lot of the game in terms of how you meet characters, the way they're introduced, the way some things go down. Obviously, of course, the way characters perceive you because it is an RPG, but because of the quest variety and the side quest varieties and how they go in and how they affect one another, coupled with the fact that every life path is completely different. I don't know about you guys, but when I hear that, me personally, I just can't wait to play the game a second time already. And they seem to know that because they have also detailed save slots and how essentially each save slot on the interface will show the life path moniker so you can easily select which one you're rolling through. If you want to know more about the life paths, I will definitely direct you towards our video we did more recently on Cyberpunk. Everything you need to know, like I've been saying, that'll be linked. It'll pop up at the end of this video, so definitely check that out. Those are some very different things we think Cyberpunk 2077 is doing. We also got a couple bonus things for you. Something interesting is the fact that the game is including content creators. Some content creators have announced that they are in the game. You know, we don't want to get specific. Maybe we won't spoil it for you, because if you're a fan of a content creator and they pop up in the game and you're surprised, that's probably pretty cool for you. But a lot of content creators are featured in the game in cameos and stuff like that, so keep your eyes peeled. And also, it's worth pointing out that technically, Keanu Reeves exists in this universe. CD Projekt Red clarified this. So Run the Jewels, the famous hip-hop duo, is in the game, performing music in the game in that universe, and in that universe, in their song, their lyrics, they reference Keanu Reeves. People were like, wait, does Keanu Reeves exist in Cyberpunk? And they have clarified, yes, Keanu Reeves did exist in the world of Cyberpunk. He just happens to look a lot like Johnny Silverhand. Anyway, these things are crazy, so let's talk about anything Cyberpunk down in the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys what you're thinking about this game, as now it's finally releasing. Are you overhyped? Are you underhyped? Are you ready to go? Let's talk anything Cyberpunk 2077 down in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. If you learned a thing or two, clicking the like button does help us out. And if you're new, maybe consider subscribing, hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. But hey, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.